What's up? I'm back. And I've come up with the next scene that I'm going to work on here. All right, so this time around, I'm going to work on this chapter I'm calling Flight of the Forsaken. And this takes place around the time Saurfang is being brought back into Orgrimmar. You've got Thrall and Anduin and a couple of other randos carrying him in after Sylvanas smoked him with the power from the maw she used. And the shadows are Shadows of Lordaeron, these Forsaken elite. At this time, they're sort of scattered around Orgrimmar watching this all go down. And they realize that now that Sylvanas is gone, they don't have this, they're no longer in power. And they've committed some like crimes against humanity sort of stuff. And so they effectively activate a flight protocol and they go into hiding. And there's a chase that takes place because in the game, if you all played World of Warcraft at the tail end of Battle for Azeroth, the Silver Moon sent up like their honor guard basically to patrol the streets of Orgrimmar to reestablish control in light of the absence of a war chief. And in the story that we're working on, the Shadows of Lordaeron are going to be targets of high priority targets, high value targets. And there's going to be a decree for their arrest, for trial, and all this other stuff. So the shadows have to go underground. And the song I picked to cover that is Run Boy Run, but the instrumental to it. So here's the song that I was listening to. Yeah, rip. What up, man? Thanks for coming on. So this is when they're ting, 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 ting. So at this point, if I'm visualizing how this started, it starts with a scene from a top-down view of the wall overlooking the courtyard in Orgrimmar. And it starts with with a zoom up shot of one of the Forsaken between members of the crowd, slowly stepping backwards before turning and just running. And in game, what we did was we had a means of communication, and we're going to talk about, like execute order 66. It's gonna be like activate protocol flight or something like that. They're gonna have a code word which is effective like scatter, you're on your own. We're gonna rendezvous at a different location and regroup. So the shadows are just in the process of scattering. And as soon as the song picks up is when the portals start opening with the Silver Moon honor guard showing up to Orgrimmar to reestablish martial law and regain control of Orgrimmar from the Forsaken. And each of the Forsaken have their different sort of plans as to how they're going to escape. One of those plans includes running to the Zeppelin and trying to jump on the last Zeppelin out of Orgrimmar to the Eastern Kingdoms. Hey, what up, Baywin Sweet? Thanks for following. what I'm doing right now, if you just tuned in, I'm sort of mapping out how the story is going to go based on the song that we're listening to. This is the Forsaken fleeing the excuse me, the Blood Elf Honor Guard as they show up to Orgrimmar after Saurfang is put down by Sylvanas. So I'm imagining this is the second sort of slow part with the strings in this song. And what I'm imagining here is specifically the character Baldum. So he was a character in the actual guild Shadows of Lordaeron, and his character was really cool. He was a Forsaken, obviously he was like an assassin, they all are practically, but his thing was his character didn't have a jaw, right? And like that happens. But the way the player got around him communicating was with American Sign Language. So whenever we're doing our roleplay events or something like that, rather than typing out this long narrative of what was going on, it was very simple. Bardum signed with his hands, da 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 da. And it was very simple, like piecemeal words that if you were, obviously you had to read it, but it made sense, but it was piecemeal words, almost like you were being translated what he was trying to say. And the fun part about writing this character is it's forcing me to actually learn American Sign Language. So I've actually got a American Sign Language app, not app, but it's a website, handspeak.com. So I'm having to learn. Where's the search function? How did I do this? Oh, right here. So it actually like shows you the hand signal. Isn't that nuts? So I've got scenes that I'm working on where I'm having to like type out that action as what Baldum's doing to communicate. Anyways, so this scene is him trying to escape via the Zeppelin, but because of the path he took, he's too late and it's drifting away, and the shadows that are on board are watching him, right? And he's like, come back, with his hands. And they're like, I can't help you, as they drift away. He turns around with the Silvermoon guards chasing him up the tower, cornering him at the top. He takes out his daggers or whatever weapon he had for this last showdown, right? And he's fighting them off and he's winning. But then one of the other main characters, which is a Silvermoon guard, actually she's like the chief of security. I haven't quite fleshed out her character yet, but she is related to another member of the Shadows of Lordaeron. And they have this whole confrontation. But she's just going to knock him out and take him hostage. And so far as the shadows are concerned, he's just out of the picture until towards the end of the story. But he's going to return with, it's going to be one of those story arcs where all seems lost for the shadows and their diplomacy with the blood elves and Silvermoon. But then suddenly there's going to be this weird coincidence that suddenly things start working out, and then they're going to ask, what's going on? How's this happening? And he's just going to step out from the shadows and wave at them. And, Killingfield's going to go, what happened? How are you here? How is this happening? And there's going to be a flashback to when Baldum's being tortured by them, tortured. His hands are tied up behind his back, and he's got a face mask on. You can't tell he's missing a jaw, but he's got his face mask on. He's just totally communicating with his eyes and facial expressions. And it's going to be kind of funny because they're going to ask him and try to get him to talk. And he's just going to sit there staring at them. and they're eventually going to take off his mask and realize he can't talk. It's American sign. Like he signs with his hands and those are tied behind his back. So he's just like, these guys are amateurs at torture. They don't know what they're doing because the Forsaken, that's what they're all about. And then the flashback will go back to him at Silvermoon and Killing Fields. Go, that's why I knew you wouldn't talk. And that's why we left you, or something like that. And Baraldom's going to like, you plan to leave me? So that'll be sort of a punchline of sort of a joke later on in the story. But for now, it's where we're at. And a lot of the songs I've picked for the Shadows of Lordaeron, anytime there's a scene with Forsaken, a lot of the songs I've picked have this kind of percussion, like sticks percussion. So it's, to me, it's sort of like bones. It's not literally bones, but it kind of should be reminiscent of bones for Forsaken. So this is him schooling all the Silvermoon guards. Yeah. And then he's just going to get clobbered in the head by a shield by the main blood elf. So that's what I'm working with right now. All right, here we go. Actually needs a point of reference here. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here. So this is all happening from the perspective of someone who's up in the keep, right? So this is the wall to Orgrimmar. And they're up here. All the fighting's taking place here, but they're going to carry him in. Sylvanas is going to smoke him. She's gonna run away. And remember, so Sylvanas is the leader of the Forsaken, right? But she's also the war chief in this instance. So for like 2 years, the Forsaken have dominated Orgrimmar. And true to their ways, you know, they weren't very pleasant about it. Well, she's going to leave, removing that top coverage from them. So suddenly, one, they're betrayed by her. So there's all kinds of emotions behind that. And she just Harry Potter's her way out of here. Shh. Anyway, so she runs away. And they bring him inside, and this Forsaken lets them in. And then everyone's all cheering as they crowd in. So these Forsaken are all banging their banners there in support of Saurfang, which, okay. But they're going to get all the way, I forgot about Zappy Boy. They're going to get all the way inside. And that's where this scene picks up. That's what up. I'm gonna have to come back and look up these names. This is all rough draft. It's okay. Oh, you know what? How to introduce this. Maybe I just need it once. And if you're wondering why I'm not working on the same scene as last night, after work, I go to the gym and I listen to some cool music and I get inspired for certain scenes. And this one was just really caught in my head. So I got to get it out. I don't know if that's the best writing technique, but I think so long as you've got your framework where you piecemeal your story, just sort of what works best for you. I like doing it my way because it gives me the ability, it makes it easier for me to think of cool Easter eggs or references or opportunities for foreshadowing and kind of piecemealing that together rather than having this super elaborate plan right at the beginning. I have elaborate plans, but it's nice to be able to just sort of sprinkle them in there and around. Artir? Arter? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to like ting ting is like, so we got one scene and then the second. So if you already closed it, but when they tap their spears, it makes a really echoing ting ting. The second one will be a different scene. And then the third one will be just a full frontal of the Forsaken between the shoulders of like two others watching, just kind of looking back and forth and then slowly backing away because they're like, yeah, we're done. Show's over. Which Forsaken? Trying to decide which character I want to have it occur to them first that it's time to run away. I'm looking up another reference. So this is what the Forsaken look like when they're fighting. And dying. So I'm kind of imagining a face like that with the yellow eyes looking from left to right and then slowly backing away. I'm going to go with bow. Again, this is just rough draft. We'll polish this up later. So she's looking between their shoulders. Okay, so it has to occur to her that this is a problem. And she's really nervous that Sylvanas just left them high and dry. But again, I come back to a thing I've talked about in the past, which is show, don't tell. So I can't say like she was scared. I gotta play it out here a little bit. One of the ways I like to use paragraphs is when I'm trying to change the visualization that the reader has and what's happening. So anytime there's like a line indent or another paragraph. I want it to make it easier for the reader to understand that really what should be visualized, the perspective has changed. That's sort of how I try to use spaces in script. And rather than saying she's in shock, I want to describe someone in shock, right? So that way the reader just sort of understands what's happening inherently. So here's what we'll do. We'll have Killing Field snap her out of it. That's what we'll do. I want to hear that song one more time. Honestly, if it was just me writing and I wasn't showing this to other folks, I would just play the song on repeat over and over and over, but I know that would just drive you crazy, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying that any of this free stream crap is any better, but it's different. Go. Okay, so that's perfect. So I've got four like ting tings, and then there's 4 bells in that song. So if this was a movie scene, each of those bells would show one of these perspectives, right? So that's sort of how I'm playing this out in my mind. Okay, but it goes right on. I don't think bubbly drinks are the best for streaming, but it is what it is. Okay. Save your work. Domineered over them? Sound right? Nailed it. Working on my troll speech. No, I don't think so. Leaped, leapt, lepid, leaped. Come on. Doing here. Ooh. I'm pretty good. I think I got a full page done almost. Whew. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about all that. Got a lot done. it's almost a page. Awesome. Save your work, don't forget. All right, so we're at an hour. I'm gonna call it for now. I appreciate you all logging on and joining me here. Ideally, you've got your own stories you're working on. So if you have any questions or ideas you want to run by me in the chat or something for your own story, feel absolutely free to do so. You're not interrupting me at all. This process is all about the journey for me. So I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I appreciate you sticking it out, because this can get a little grueling sometimes. But I had fun. That's what really matters. So until tomorrow, have a good night.